Welcome to World11 News Channel.
Despite Helena's Britt Lower, scheming Mark S., Adam Scott and Helly, also Lower, finally got together on Severance. Sure, it took 2 episodes longer than expected since Outie Helena had been posing as Any Helly for the first 4 installments of Season 2. She even seduced Any Mark while pretending to be his MDR crush when they were on their ORTBO in Episode 4, Woe's Hollow. But now Any Helly is finally back, and Mark S. wasted no time in Episode 6, Attila confessing what happened with her Outie while she was gone. In a surprisingly romantic and emotional moment, Helly's response was to lead Mark to an abandoned room on the severed floor to sleep together, officially rewriting his memory of their fake first time for the real thing. Severance stars Scott and World11 Entertainment Weekly that they work hard to tell 2 separate stories between the Mark Helena and Mark Helly love scenes. It was really important to Britt and I, and to Yuta Breezewitz, who was directing that episode, and producers Ben Stiller and Dan Erickson, of course, that these 2 loves seem to be very different from one another. Scott says, "We really, all of us in the intimacy coordinator, just approached it gently. I think that it is a very sweet, gentle scene." But then it's like the Severance chip kicks in, as Scott hesitates to explain any further about filming that scene. "I don't know if I want to say too much more than that," he says, "because it's something that the viewer can kind of watch and pick up on and know the difference between these 2 scenes, and why they're different and emotionally how they feel." Lower is extremely proud of the step forward with Mark that Helly took in this episode. Helly is the most fearless character I've ever encountered, except for when it comes to Mark S., she says. That's the one place where she feels what's at stake in their relationship. So we want to play that scene in a contrasting way to the scene in Episode 4, and really going from the idea that probably Episode 4 was not Helena's first time experiencing something like that, whereas for Mark S., the Any, that was his first time. Lower loves how that dynamic is then flipped in this week's episode, allowing Helly to reveal more vulnerability than ever before. Helly has had the courage to kiss him, make the first move at the end of Season 1. But this is a whole other territory, she says. These are characters who, their life experiences, it's kind of happening for the first time, if that makes sense. So we wanted to craft them really differently. It was very delicate. Helly takes in what has happened, and then wants to reclaim her autonomy again for herself. I love how she just moves forward. It's such a vulnerable scene, but she says what she wants. Are Mark S. and Helly officially a couple now? Do they have to sign a disclosure form with Lumen HR declaring their extracurricular activities? Surely their in-office hookup violated HR guidelines. That's the question, right? Lower answers with a laugh. I mean, I don't know what's in a label. Scott also laughs as he thinks about that. That's a very, very good question. He says, yeah, maybe there's some official ritual or something. But the important thing is that I don't think coupling is something that, at least thus far in the show, we haven't seen it as something that's encouraged necessarily. What they're doing in the stop-motion animated film that Milchick Trammell Tillman showed everybody at the beginning of the season, they apparently encourage this sort of thing. They're cool with it, but I don't think for Mark and Helly any of that matters. I think the cool thing about them is that it's pure. What's not as pure is whatever Helena has planned for Mark. The Out-Eye Lumen exec approached an unsuspecting Outie Mark at a restaurant in a moment that was way too suspicious to be coincidence. When Helena goes to see him at the restaurant, I think it's an interesting insight into just the way that these 2 people are connected somehow, Lower says. They have something there, even if they're not aware of what it is. The only combination you haven't seen together are Outie Mark and Any Helly. So far you've seen Any Mark, Any Helly, Outie Mark, Outie Helly, and Any Mark, but not that 4th combination. So that's interesting to note.